Yay! Hi, Carl! We did it! Great success.
Yeah. I don't know if I should be wearing my headphones or not, but whatever.
Well, we kind of never know until we get into it. Sometimes it sounds glitchy and weird, like it kind of does a little bit on my end. I don't know if it sounds like that to you.
Nope, it's crystal clear here. Yes.
Perfect. So if it sounds weird to anybody that's watching, let us know and we can try to adjust it. The joys of, the internet in the country.
That's true.
It's always fun. Oh, I need to... Dear family, if you're watching, please stop sending me so many text messages.
I'm pretty sure Susie joined.
Yeah. So I know, Carl, that maybe you watched last week with Josh. Or like came in a little bit, maybe. Well, didn't you say that in your message? I thought you did.
Sorry. Last week kind of got away on me. It's getting away on.
As it does sometimes.
Lots of these weeks seem to get away on me. I think I'm still back on week 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, like when we were, trying to figure out what to do now that we just sit in our house and studio by ourselves all the time, we thought it would be nice to go through some of our artwork that we've kind of collected over the years of running the residency. And our good friend Josh Dannon, who has Rectangle Press in the States, he was also talking about like the fact that he doesn't really know what to do with the shop in this type of circumstance. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to post on Instagram that we're going to go live together on Friday and talk about prints that we have in our drawers. And he was like, oh, okay. And so then Kyle and I really liked it, so we've just been sort of doing it every week since then.
Yeah. It's a little bit like a show and tell.
Good.
There's like prints in our drawers that we'll likely never be able to afford to buy a frame for or to put them up. And I think it's just a shame, but I think there's a lot of cool stuff. So we're just going to share some stuff.
Yeah, that's the plan. But do you want to introduce yourself and sort of explain what you do in case there's people that don't know that?
I'm always happy to talk about the work that I do. So I'm an educator as well as an illustrator. I've been freelancing for 30 years. I do printmaking as well when I have the time, which sometimes seems fleeting. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm interested and involved in. I really like the work that you've done in terms of being a hub for a creative community and establishing links between lots of people. And I think it's really important as an artist not to live in isolation, not to live kind of like in your studio or in your head too much, and think about the wider picture. So as someone who's taught at Sheridan, I really enjoyed connecting with students and connecting with people with huge amounts of artistic talent. One of the works that I'm going to show today is from a student who was in one of my classes, and and I just really like the things that he's done, and also just it's just the idea of staying connected. So we're not little islands out here. We're just part of a bigger community. So that's really important to me. Can I show you my studio?
I feel like
I'm just gonna.
I also feel like I know when we first started, Kyle and I talked to you a lot about like being creative people in like not a city center, and like that's something that came up a lot for us, especially at the beginning, like working from home and that home not being like downtown Toronto or something. And so you are in Belleville, which is like more of a city than Picton, but still like that hasn't really like affected your ability to just like do so much amazing work and work with like international
I'm really lucky. I lived in Toronto for 10 years and I sort of got myself established there, and then I moved to Prince Edward County, lived there for 20 years, and I've been in Belleville now for 5. So it's nice to, as an artist, to be able to live where you like to live at the speed you like to live at, and but also it's like I say, I use a lot of technology to stay connected to other people in the arts community, and I've also always been active in terms of the people that I work with. As an illustrator, I get to work with people in Toronto, New York, all over the world. So it's nice not to think of yourself as living in a little bubble in a little community or tied to a certain location. So I think the nice thing about things like this, I'm new to Instagram Live, so it's a new experience for me. Thank you for introducing me.
No, I love it. So far, you're doing great.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do a cribs tour of
Sure.
the
Let me
studio.
just flip my phone here, and I'll take you on a guided tour. Okay. So, well, there it is. That's my beautiful flat files.
Oh, I love it.
So it was actually kind of cool to dig through this again because it sits there. It's massive and it takes up a lot of space. And you kind of tuck things away in there, and then they just disappear forever. So, I've been really, really meaning to dig through this and sort through a lot of things, and then frame a whole bunch of things and get them all sorted out. So this is my. I live in a. I'm just going to show you my yard.
Oh, we're frozen.
Are we frozen? Come back to us.
The joys of internet. But his yard looks so lush. Does ours look that green? I guess we have a lot more dandelions. We have a lot more dandelions.
Yeah, bees
no.
like them.
Maybe we've lost Carl forever. Are we still here? This is the thing that I never know. Guys, Carl left. Carl left us. We'll try to get him back. Boop.
There you go.
I apologize, guys. This is the reality of using the internet as a source of communication.
Hello, I'm back again.
You're back.
It didn't like you going outside today.
It was like, don't show the outdoors. It's rainy out there.
Hang on, sorry about that. Yeah, I
That's okay.
disappeared into a rabbit hole there for a second. Anyway, so this is looking. This is my kitchen up here. You can see through to the.
Oh, easy access to coffee.
Yeah,
That's important
definitely.
for my.
And then I have this is my working space. So, as I'm really lucky to have a window on the north side of the studio and the south side of the studio. So I just feel
it's so
nice
bright.
and bright in here. I'll take you around.
Oh, this looks amazing.
That's
It
my
looks
bear
so
skull.
good.
That's my bulletin board. That's my
the
light table.
color
That's where I
charting?
work. Do a lot of making. Sorry?
The color chart that's on the.
Oh, that's from
board?
Pin Dot Press. So that's like a for doing what's the Rizo printing.
That's what I thought. Or Rizzo,
Yeah.
I don't know. Rizo. Everybody says it different. I really don't know the right way. I personally like the sound of
Right.
Rizograph more than
Risograph, yeah.
Risograph, but I don't think that's how language works. I don't just choose which way I like.
That's
better.
my studio mate, Kona. Hey Kona, say hello.
So cute.
Anyway, so
So
yeah,
cute.
I have a zine project in my head, and eventually I'll get around to it. And I'd love to do as a Rizo.
Sweet.
And then I got like all my when I moved into the space, I bought like really nice bookshelves. So everything's tucked away there, so I don't have boxes and things cluttering up the space too much.
That's a nice
Yeah,
feature.
getting back to my light table. There's a Peter Menaker print on my wall.
Oh, sweet.
This is Trio Magnus.
Oh, hey, I
Yeah.
like that.
Clayton Hamner, Steve Wilson, and Aaron Layton. They do big murals, and that's a print. And then over here is Jackie Oakley. She's
Also lovely.
incredibly talented illustrator from Hamilton. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
And
We're talking to someone from Hamilton next
Oh, yeah?
week.
who's that?
Yeah, so that'll be fun. Lane, he's a printmaker. He has a really cool shop and does like these just absolutely phenomenal mezzotapes,
Oh, nice.
which is like a very time
Yeah.
consuming per making process.
I did that. I've tried experimented with that. That is definitely a.
It's a challenging
Yeah.
one. So, Carl, do you bounce back and forth between like drawing on the light table? Because I remember one time I was at your studio and you were like scanning a lot and like doing a lot of digital stuff. Like, how much do you prefer doing digital work over drawing for some projects and vice versa, or do you always kind of combine the two together?
I like to do a combination. So a lot of the images that I use are vectorized from old engravings and things like that. So sometimes I'll take a piece of an old diagram and then like completely flip it upside down and turn it over and grab the snippet and then add to it with hand painted elements and things that I like to embellish with. So it's kind of like a real mix. And the more I go along, the more work I do, the more it tends just to be combining and recombining and mixing and remixing things. And it's it all starts with obviously a thumbnail. So I sit down with pencil and paper and figure out what I want to do and how I want to do it, and then kind of see what materials I have at hand. And as you can see, I do collect a lot of old books and encyclopedias and all kinds of materials. So it's really important to have a good stash of reference materials on supply. And it's good to be inspired by something completely weird and, just random, I guess.
We showed one of your prints last
Right.
week. The like kind of robot swimming. Well, I think he's swimming.
Right.
Yeah. I love that series. I also just like the long format of it, because like that's a weird format to work in.
Yeah, that was
awkward.
I love working in the studio. It was so much fun to be able to invent things and repurpose things and kind of start out with a loose plan and then just see what happens and where it takes you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of what I do is inspired by happy accidents. So many things in a creative realm just begin with, having one intention and then kind of getting fascinated by some weird anomaly, that emerges, and then that anomaly becomes the complete center of your next project, or, so all these random events just kind of combine and recombine to create moments, and then that kind of becomes your career path sometimes.
No, definitely. I feel like a lot of the like work that I've done since being in school all started from me just like making something silly in class one day and being like, wait, I kind of love this weird silly thing I made.
The idea of like of sitting down and creating something beautiful is so intimidating. So if you're just delving into your mistakes, then it just gets a lot easier to just
I totally agree.
make something nice happen. And in a way that's what we all admire. Something that looks just spontaneous, right? And unexpected.
Yeah, I think that like having a looseness and a freedom in the work is what's really interesting. You can tell when someone's thinking too hard. It makes the work really like tight and unforgivable in some way. I don't know.
But
also
speaking to that, I'm completely obsessive about line work, and I'm just I get.
Yeah, you and I work very similar. Like I have like a folder of projects that I started and then almost immediately scrapped after I found like one cool collage bit. I was like, okay, that's the inspiration. So like I just have like gigs worth of these Photoshop files that have like 6, 7, 8 elements in it that have like just barely been started but have been scrapped in favor of that new thing that came along, that spontaneity. And then it just takes so long to execute it.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right. Artworks. Do you want us to start or do you want to start?
Do you want to alternate? Why don't you go first?
We go first? Okay.
So our first work is this is a Brian Hoad print. Brian Hoad is currently the technician at Queen's University.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen his work at Blizmax. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like based out of Kingston right now, but he grew up in Port Hope, and he went out. Well, he did his undergrad at Queen's, and then went out west to the University of Alberta.
He was in
Regina. He was in Regina studying print under his master's, and then now he's back in Ontario.
Nice.
So this is a woodcut,
Yeah.
and most of Brian's work is kind of about like looking back at his sort of childhood in the woods, camping and working at camps.
Right.
So they have kind of this like, they're a little nostalgic, but they're also like well, for me, they're a little bit spooky. Like there's always this kind of like strange, like, I don't know, like teens in the woods getting up to no good a little bit. I don't think that's necessarily what Brian's adolescence was like, but when I look at them and I project myself onto them, it always looks like there's like a mass of teenagers in the woods, obviously not doing anything productive. They're probably doing something bad. But yeah, so there's like a lot of cabins and canoe trips. It's like very Canadian.
It doesn't feel like you're like a kid at these places. You feel like kind of like a young adult looking around like kind of a derelict campsite.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not all magic and fairies and like yay camping.
No, like he uses
Sometimes
very like muted colors and or black and whites, and so there's like just a bit of there just seems like something is just below the surface, which I really love about them.
Yeah.
Plus, I think the like patterning that comes up in the work. So he has done a few pieces recently where he's like looking at quilt patterns. And I feel like even though this doesn't have anything to do with quilts, there is kind of this like, I don't know, like a bit of a patchwork that's happening with the way that he deals with his mark making. And I really like love that.
Yeah. It has a kind of theatrical quality to it. Like you say, like walking in, you want to walk into that space and then,
Yeah, like what are they doing?
and the lighting is really
Parading through the
very
forest.
lovely too. Very atmosphere. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, we really love Brian's work. He does some really great paintings as well. It's always hard for us because we usually just have like a print. It's generally an artist proof. It's usually the one that like the person made here first and they're like, nah, it's not super good. So we'll leave that one, which is fine. I'm happy to have whatever I can get. But I wish that we had some of his paintings because the paintings of the cabins, I really love them so much. And he did this giant, was that a litho, that huge, like, kind of forest scene that we had at the one show?
Yes.
And I don't know how many panels it was. That was a big piece.
I think we ground down the stone, I think it was like 12 times maybe, and reprinted it. It took up like an 8x8 section, so maybe it is more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe 16 times? It was
just
a lot.
Glorious piece of print media. And just obnoxious, I'm sure, to execute. Because he mostly did litho when he was, or like that was like one of his focuses in his master's. So he stayed with us and helped us, which we still have to actually like pull together, and maybe that could be a quarantine job. But he came and he did a whole month here with us exploring all the different ways people are doing kitchen litho. And trying to like distill how like traditional litho is done in comparison. So looking more at the chemistry of like what's making this work, why is it working this way, what needs to be part of this process, and what kind of seems just like a silly add-on so that it sounds funny.
Pushing the boundaries of the medium or whatever. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So he's great. We really love Brian.
Excellent.
So people should check out his work. Okay, who do you have?
All right, so what I'm going to show is a series of 3 screen prints. They were all commissioned by the Polaris Prize Slate Family Heritage Honors. So these prints combine music and illustration or art. So it's really a cool venue, and I don't know how many of, I'm sure a lot of the people, you know, so who are seeing this would be familiar with Polaris Prize. So as I talked about earlier, like as artists, we're part of a bigger community, you know, and we're, you know, it's nice to combine music and art together. So I'm going to show you some work. So I was invited to do one of the posters in the series, and the Polaris Prize has commissioned a lot of different artists in doing this. I'm just going to stand on a chair so I can get a better view of this.
All right, don't fall over, because that would.
Oh, that'd make it more interesting, wouldn't it? Anyway, so the first is Jesse Denobrega, and he, as I mentioned, he is a recent Sheridan grad. Super talented illustrator and artist, and the poster here is the Dream Warriors, and the album is and now the legacy begins. So his take on it was to really get in there with incredible detail.
Whoa.
And these are, I believe, 5 colors were the limit in terms of like how many. So I think he's really maximizing the image with the use of color. And another thing I like about the series is that as printmakers, we tend to think of images, you know, as visual items. These incorporate type as well, and that's a whole other element that you see in illustration today. So being an artist and also being someone who can design and use type effectively is pretty challenging. So Jesse's really nailing it here with a combination of color, line, subject, collage, like all kinds of, or not collage, just all these little, you know.
The little details, like go to the leg part. Yeah, this is crazy.
Yeah. So.
I also like the kind of almost like fire or hair texture that's like blending the arm into the hand, into the fingers. Yeah. And then that's kind of repeated in the microphone stand, which is really, really beautiful. Yeah. And the negative space of the buildings over top of that wispy skyline.
Right. Yeah, just the simple blue or teal shape there, but it implies so much, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's really, really nice. Susie's asking if we can see the detail on the bottom.
On the bottom.
Yeah, because these are like little figures. These things remind me of Peter Menneker's drawings a little bit.
I was also thinking the 7-Up guy.
So these are a series of, it says 44 here, but in general they're like a limited edition series of silk screen prints printed at Kid Icarus in Toronto, and and you can buy these. What the nice thing about these are really nice big ass prints, like they're big and beautiful. 18 by 24 inches. So that's why I'm actually having a little trouble getting them all like everything into the shot here. And they retail for like $40. So if you want like really amazing value, go to the Polaris website and order some of these prints. So after I was commissioned to do one of the posters, I in turn went and then bought a slew of these and you know, just because I love them as objects so much, and they're just so beautifully done. So so when you get an opportunity to work on something like this, you kind of have to really bring your A game. You know, it's kind of challenging and intimidating on one level, but the nice thing is that you have complete creative freedom to do what you want. You have amazing subject matter, and also you're promoting Canadian talent, which is also a nice thing to do. Yeah, I like the I like the face on this. It's just like a speaker, you know, and very simple.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't even notice that before. And I noticed that there's like a heart in the chest of the musician as well, which is really cool. Yeah, there's a lot going. There's just like a lot of information going on in this print. Oh, that's super cool.
Anyways, So yeah,
Love that one.
big ups to Jesse for killing this one.
All right.
Okay. Our next one
Is Ryookyung Kim. So this is sort of a two-parter. So the first part, ours is going to be backwards because I can't flip my screen around because it'd be too complicated. So I apologize for the backwardsness. So this is a little book that Ryookyung made while she was here. So she made all these little illustrations. So there's like a little library card detail. So this is all Ryzo printed. Right. I'm just trying to see, I'm sure it says in here somewhere where it got printed. I'm assuming it's in Toronto at Color Code, but that might be just because I assume everything is printed there because they do a really good job. It maybe doesn't say. All right, I don't know where this was done. And I'm not going to read the whole thing to figure it out. But so she was working on a few different things while she was here. Primarily, like the first plan was to create a little, like, I forget what she called it, a flash art zine of different tattoo ideas. So she really wanted to get into tattooing, making like tattoo drawings and art for different shops, and so she was putting together like a collection that could go out to kind of promote her drawings to different places. So that was kind of the plan here. So these are all like these were actually like little drawings that were done, and then they're put over top of different backgrounds and then scanned. So I don't know if it's that noticeable, but you can really feel the like 3D element of it because it's actually like little physical drawings put onto different backgrounds with little tapes and that sort of thing. But the interesting thing about what happened while Ryookyung was here was she actually ended up exploring some of her like heritage. So her family is from Korea and her partner's family's from China. And so while she was here, she ended up really looking into like Asian Canadian heritage and different events that have happened through history that have like affected Asian Canadians. And I just think like her journey was so powerful for me to like watch and to create a space where she felt safe and comfortable to explore that part of her ancestry was really important to me, because that's exactly like what we want to do at Sparkbox, is like give artists a place where they can really look into the work and the narratives that they want to talk about with like, and without any like fear or concern about just the vulnerability of that process. And so so she did a lot of different things. She listened to a lot of books and she watched a lot of podcasts, but she also went out into the community here and met with different like Asian Canadians that either have been here for a very long time or maybe haven't, and she like had a lot of discussions and little sit down chats with them, which I thought was really cool as well. And I mean, I wanted to talk about her work anyways, but I think right now it's especially important because I actually feel like really scared and sort of upset at what this entire situation has kind of brought out even more visibly. And I don't want to get too political or anything, but I just think that like this is a conversation that's important to have, and I'm, not necessarily the right person to be having it, but I just think it's important, and I think that sharing her work is a way that I can say, something about what the impact that this has on people, whether they've grown up here their whole lives or whether they came here a long time ago or have just come to this country now. So anyways, just really love Ryookyung's work. And I think
I love the detail and the kind of layers in that, all the different, it sort of feels like a personal journal on some level, but also it just goes so deep in terms of, culture and other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
It also feels really good. Like whoever did
Right.
make this little book did a great job. Like the paper quality is really nice.
So how many
It's
how many copies did you produce?
Okay, hold on.
Does she actually list the
Let's see.
editions?
Let's see. That's the name. Also, this is so. What a nice little detail.
Right.
Does she say?
No,
I don't think she does say.
Maybe she made quite a bit. No.
No, doesn't
Yeah.
say. Doesn't say the edition.
Yeah, it's I love self-publishing and the kind of ability to just work without a lot of as someone who works as an illustrator, I'm constantly challenged by meeting all these parameters and things like that, and to have the freedom to just delve into something like that and make such a
I
beautiful
think that
artifact.
at first it kind of intimidated
Right.
her a little bit to like feel like she had this total freedom. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like we see that a lot with the residency. If people don't come in with like a really specific project, the like freedom of having just time to do whatever you want can be a little paralyzing at
Yeah.
first.
Yes.
Oh, I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's like that first, that day or two of terror, and then you eventually kind of resolve what you want to do, and then
You hope to stumble on
have
one of
to-
those
yeah, I have to
accidents that
commit to
pushes
that.
you forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know that. I know that
Totally.
feeling.
So yeah, that's our second
Right.
choice.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get back to this. I'm going to talk about another image that I submitted here, which was Matthew Daley. He's also known as Shiny Pliers on Instagram and
Shiny what?
Pliers. Yeah. So
That's hilarious.
I've never met Matthew, and I've always kind of wanted to, or just have a discussion with him because I really like his work. I think you could probably see why, in terms of what he does. So I like machine imagery, and this is kind of like machine based. There's a lot of really amazing graphic detail. He incorporates a lot of really beautiful texture into his work as well. So this is, I don't know if you can read it or not. This is based on a Tribe Called Red, Nation to Nation is the album. So this is the inspiration for the work. So if you look here, you can see all these. It looks like a big robot, but then if you actually look at the face, it's a bear, which is really cool. And then,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
so it kind of ties into
Oh, then the cloth.
First Nation imagery
I
and things
see
like
it.
that. So it's really it's really nicely done. So I'm just gonna go into some of the nice, cool,
Good
Textures.
textures.
Really good textures.
nice kind of hand-built font here too. So yeah, that's a Tribe Called Red.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I like the colors as
yeah,
well.
very simple. I think it's just 3 colors. It's
Yeah.
very nicely done.
Oh, Kate, I feel like seeing them live was probably amazing.
What's that?
So,
Oh.
someone's seen them
Yeah.
live. I was saying that was probably like a super good
Yeah.
show.
This print's
Yeah,
great.
it's nice, isn't it?
It's got like this really like, I imagine you can sympathize with this. Like, I really like that structure of the robot.
Right.
But like to know that like it's got a little bear face, that's
Yeah.
like something really neat and
Yeah.
special.
So it's always nice when you can discover little jewels in a piece of artwork like that, or just almost like layers, right? So you look at it one way and you see one thing, you look at another, you see a different thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's great things happening here. Yeah.
I think also when you mentioned in the last piece, like thinking about line and type, I think this is another like really good example of that.
Right.
So, all of these wires that are coming around are moving you to all the different elements of the
Yeah.
piece. So you're kind of following that through and then back up into it, which I really
Yeah.
like a lot.
Yeah.
And that type is crazy. It's like,
Mhm.
Do you think it was like a handmade type, or do you think that's like
No, I believe he's probably crafted this himself. I can't say that, but I would. The same sort of stylistic elements run through all his work. So if you look up what he does, you'll see a lot of really amazing graphic things like this. So I'm a big fan. I don't know. I hope that he hears this and that.
Well, we ended up buying a piece from one of Josh's show and tells last week because I was just like, I need it. I need to have this.
Yes. So I felt lucky. When I did my show, there was a stack of these, and I think they were getting right down to the last in the series. So I was happy to pick this one up. So yeah.
That's so good. Sweet.
Matthew does a lot of zines as well, and print fairs and things like that. So if you go to a zine fair, chances are in Toronto that you'll see him there. So
is he from Toronto?
Or if you go to TCAF, which unfortunately was canceled this year, one of my favorite things to do or to see in Toronto is just such an amazing collection of narrative artists and comic book artists and printmakers and things like that too. So yeah.
Totally.
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a good one.
Would you reintroduce this?
Pardon? Okay, our last one is in a frame, so hopefully there's a nightmarish glare of our terrible desk of dead flowers. Okay, so this one this was gifted to us, this print, actually.
I have to keep stepping back.
Oh, Kyle's trying to figure out how to make this work. It is also a large print, so it's hard to show. So this print is by YewHaw Press, and unfortunately they're not open anymore. Do you want me to hold it, Kyle?
No.
But they were in Tennessee, and they did a lot of like woodcut, large scale, sort of poster size art pieces. We have 3 of their prints, and they were all gifted. We're very fortunate. So shout out Kelly and Ian. And we both just really like their work because it's kind of like folky and usually pretty funny. Like there's a lot of sarcasm. I don't think so much in this one. This one looks like it might be more of a poster for a band. The illustrations aren't always done by the 2 that ran the shop. So this one is done by Timothy Winkler. So they would collaborate with other people, which again is just like something we really love about printmaking is this like collaboration, different people working together to create something that isn't necessarily like a festival or a performance. Like it's like a 2-dimensional piece of work. And I think for me, I mostly love the like folk art feel of these prints.
Beautiful.
What do you think, Kyle? Kyle picked this one, so he should also talk about it.
Yeah, I think that like what I really like about these YewHaw prints is that they're big woodcuts.
Do you want me to get another one? I'll go grab one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like the simple design. It's only 1, 2, 3 colors. I like it when printmakers can really use that simple color palette.
I'm totally I get all green with envy when I see that, when other people can do that so effectively and beautifully. So the illustration is a woodcut, even the background is printed that way.
Yeah, I think it would be just like a straight empty block.
Yeah.
But
Nice.
here's another one. This one has I can't read backwards in the thing. Can you read it?
It says, open all night, American typography, home style, pure lard, pig flakes, YewHaw, whole hog, letterpress design, Yardalicious, or Lardalicious, industrial letterpress.
Nice.
So, this like, I don't know, it's just like silly.
Kitchen sink kind of stuff. It's great.
Yeah, like weird kind of, 1940s, 50s aesthetic. That craft paper background is so good.
I think this would be the lower part is all typeset, but like the pig flakes in YewHaw would be carved out of a block.
Great.
I've also kind of wondered if this pink is light fast, because I think that it might have faded
Right.
over time a little bit.
Which is actually
Well, a lot of
kind
colors,
great.
yeah, bright colors like that tend to not hold.
Pig flakes. Yeah, I know. The pig flakes is so good and also so disgusting sounding. I just learned about suet the
Yeah,
other day, which kind of sounds like maybe is pig flake adjacent.
Pork
really.
rinds. Yeah,
Yeah.
a Homer favorite.
But yeah. But I don't know. Sometimes it's just nice to have art in your house that like puts a smile on your face
Yeah.
and is like well done, but also has a sense of humor about
The
it.
nice thing about
Agreed.
printmaking is it's, it is accessible. If you want to collect art, you don't have to spend an arm and a leg, and it's, I don't want to sound like I'm shilling it, but it's just like the reality is that people are making beautiful artifacts, and it doesn't, it's approachable, and it's also just really accessible in terms of like cost. So, yeah.
Yeah. I also feel like it's tangible in a way that like a painting and a sculpture kind of
Yeah,
isn't.
yeah.
Like this little book is something that I can like sit down with and like
Right.
hold and look at and admire and
Yeah. Every
feel.
time you look through it, you're going to see something different, right? You're going to see something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that about
Yes.
paper
Yeah.
products.
Yeah, but you're also not afraid to touch paper products.
That's true.
I feel like a lot of people are afraid to touch
That's
paper
true.
products.
That's true. Fair enough. All right, we can make Kyle not. Will it sit up here or will it fall down? Is it too heavy?
Is it? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Never mind. They're well framed, sturdy
Yes.
framework.
With real glass and not that like IKEA plastic stuff.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's not
The
good.
worst. All right.
All right. So I'm going to get to my own print here.
Nice.
Yes. Thanks.
Blue Rodeo shout out.
Yeah. I saw these guys back in the days when you could go down to the Toronto amphitheater by Ontario Place, and you basically, I think you just paid $5 and you threw a blanket on the ground, and it was great. So,
That's nice.
yeah. Blue Rodeo are like Canadian icons, in terms of like songwriting and musicianship, and they have this great, I like how they work together, and they're just a really awesome band in terms of, how they make the music itself. So this album itself was recorded not too far from here in Northumberland. Apparently, they have a farmhouse. Where is that? North of
didn't know
Coburg. So what they did was they locked themselves into this farmhouse for 5 days in July and created an album. So, so it was like this organic process, and when I created this image, I wanted to create something that looks summery, like that hazy heat you get. So I used the yellow and that the blue rather than green, just kind of like to show like that idea of like a late evening or early morning when everything's still kind of misty, and it's going to be a scorcher that day. That feeling of
Love it.
full on summer. So really enjoyed working with the type on this. So yeah, I built this, the banner 5 days in July, built that by hand, and kind of played with the colors. So
It's so lovely.
yeah, I used an old engraving of an oak tree, but also just like that idea of like a tree on a hill, So if you're in our area or up in Northumberland, you'll see these rolling hills, and just like that idea of farmland and space and solitude and all the things that go into creating. So it's got some engraved elements from old woodcuts in the background, some rays of light, and just.
Yeah, I didn't see those rays of light when you were in the back, but I see it now.
And then
there's also like a halftone pattern in that yellow somewhere.
Yes, there is. So
Yeah.
So there's, and then there's I dropped some halftones into there, some gradient patterns into the background. So again, this was just 4 colors. And the black I actually used very sparingly. It was only just in the blue rodeo up here, and the type down here. Sorry if I'm moving too much. I make me nauseous.
No, it's good.
Um,
No, it's fine. We're not. I don't think. Well, I'm not having any like Blair Witch Project effect or anything.
but yeah, so it was just a really great project to work on, and I really enjoyed it. And I took the time to do it right.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really happy with normally I do my own printing, as you know. I like all the glitches and imperfections that you get in terms of pulling a print by hand. But I handed this over to someone else, and they just did a gorgeous job of the color quality. So a lot of times when you hand something off to a production person, you don't know what they're going to come back with. And this was exactly how it was supposed to look. So it was just like bang on in terms of how it was produced. So yes.
Oh, that is always so satisfying, especially when you like have like a really intentional color choice, like you're thinking of a specific time of day and a specific time of the year. Those, and you've created something that's like simplistic, where like the color choices are part of the story. So missing those would just change the entire narrative you're trying to bring together. So those guys are such pros. Yeah. I like the pop out in the 5 days in July, like that the tree isn't there. So I just like that little design quality. I like a lot. So it just pops right out at you, which is really nice.
So as an illustrator, I talk about obsessing about line work. So I drew the entire tree, made sure it was all filled in. I didn't draw the type and then draw the tree around it. I created all the elements in different layers and then made sure that they all balanced out properly. So I obsess about all these things, but it's worth taking the time to get it right.
It is. It's totally worth it.
It is totally worth it. And because then every little detail becomes like intentional, like the fact that you have that gradient in the bottom that also sort of like mirrors the cloud effect in the top. And then it's repeated in the landscape, so there's that distance. You can feel that rolling hill, like you're up high because that gradient is coming right out from behind the tree, and then it's going into solid again.
For a medium, that's typically very flat. Like there's quite a lot of depth in what you've achieved. Like the little drop shadow in 5 days in July. I just keep thinking, Carl, this probably took you more than 5 days.
No, it didn't take that long. Like, drawing the tree was probably the most laborious part. I had a pretty good idea of, the type that I wanted to do. So I did fairly detailed sketches and sent them. As I said, they don't really exercise creative control. I think they gave me a couple of suggestions about the type, because I had the title at the bottom. That was the only thing that they commented on was that element. But everything just was really great. And again, like you asked me about how much is appropriated, how much is hand-drawn. So the sky was kind of from an old vintage engraving. The tree was drawn by hand, and then the landscape was improvised. That was just something I drew out of my head. So, it's just like a whole combination of things. But yes, printmaking is so much fun, and I just love doing it so much. And I wish I had more time just to knock off things like this.
When you do this kind of project, does the band have any input, or are they conversed with at all?
No, so it's, they literally commissioned to do kind of like an homage to the, how you feel about the music, you listen to it, you respond to it. Again, I wanted something atmospheric with this, so I think it worked out pretty good. But you also just have to, I'm just going to get off my chair here. Sit down again. Don't want any accidents. Oh, anyway, so it's a working thing, and it's a challenge. It could be a little intimidating, but also it's nice to see it all work out. And I on Instagram, I saw this nice picture of Jim Cutting holding a print and looking really happy. So it was cool.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, yeah, I really like that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This was a great little collection. I like that it was like 3 of a series of works
Yeah.
that connect to each other, even though they're all independent of each other.
I'm planning on framing these up very soon, and it's been on my agenda for a while, and I really want to get them up on my wall. I've got more in the series as well, and it's you know, I could spend 24 hours here just pulling stuff out of my flat files and showing it and talking about it. So it's I really like what you're doing. I like the idea a lot. So yes, thanks for the
Thanks.
invitation.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have you come back on again if you have more things in your flat files.
I would be a
We're
happy
gonna-
repeat returnee. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we like doing it, so this is going to become a regular. I don't know if it'll be always Fridays in the middle of the day, because that seems
But in
potentially.
COVID time, Fridays seem to work.
Good.
For
Yeah.
us.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
at least you
Well,
know what
thanks
day of the
so
week
much,
it is
Carl.
now.
Maybe we can. Yeah, exactly. He keeps you on a schedule of some sort. Can we turn back to your face
Yes, we
for a
can.
sec before we have to leave you? Because we're gonna get kicked
All
out
right.
soon.
Yeah.
We only have an hour, and then Instagram's like, enough.
Yeah.
You've said enough
You like
words.
you like my hair?
I
think I need a cut pretty soon. This is like a little bit overdue.
Whoa.
Kyle's.
His hat is high in watts right now.
Yeah. I need to redo my bangs again,
Yeah.
but you know.
It's grown out to the point that I'm like, oh, apparently I'm going gray on the sides. Huh.
Man,
Exactly.
I feel for you,
Who knows
Kyle.
that?
I've been there.
It's all
No,
part
it's
of
just-
life. You'll just look more
No,
esteemed.
just part of my everyday fabric. Yes. The old guy with the gray beard.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Whatever. They look good.
Anyway,
I wish I could grow a beard and then I would have a defined chin
Yeah.
line. Like a jaw.
oh, I'm just gonna pan down on my. There's Kona. She's looking out the window. She wants to chase some squirrels. Oh, yeah.
I don't blame her. Well, thanks so much, Carl.
Yes.
We really loved that you came on Instagram Live, even though you didn't really know exactly what that was going to
Life's
look
an
like.
adventure.
You just trusted the
right.
process. And those prints were great, and it was just nice
nice
seeing
to
you
meet
and
you.
having a chat. Yeah.
For sure.
Maybe one day soon
Yeah.
we can see each
Each other
other
in
That's right.
and we can have a
Imagine.
social distance
Oh, I
coffee or
can't wait.
something.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
group hugs
All
everywhere.
right.
All right.
Exactly.
Bye,
Bye.
Carl.
Bye, Carl.
Good to
Have a
see you.
good
Thanks for the
weekend.
invitation. Bye.
Bye.